Yes, I unintentionally did.
To at least have the appearance of putting down a tornado, but when you have rotation like this, it's better to be safer than sorry. So you still need to be in the bottom floor of your home, away from doors and windows, interior most area. Pillows, blankets, what have you. If it's in an interior bathtub that you want to get into, put those over your head. Make sure you're wearing shoes so that you don't have debris that you cut yourself on, and just in case this thing does try to make it on down to the ground. Let's zoom in even more so you can see exactly where this storm is affecting right now. We'll take our zoom tool. We're going to go right into the Smyrna area here. This is Smyrna in Jefferson County, Indiana. And there you go. You can see that this is not a terribly populated area. The town of Smyrna, of course, would be the area that we continue to watch. There's Indiana 7 right there. If you know where that is, it's approaching it. So if you have travel plans along Indiana 7 over the next few minutes, avoid that. There's 250 just to the north of that. And that's where areas along that road are going to be hit with some pretty substantial hail here. Maybe 3/4 inch in diameter. We're talking penny to nickel size hail at times, so be careful. Please don't travel through that if you can avoid it. We're going to pan the radar up so we can see more of that. There's Indiana 250 right there. There's Indiana 7. There's the DuPont area. DuPont, you are not under this warning at this time, so we'll continue to monitor this situation for you folks up there in Jefferson County, Indiana. Current time is 2:50 p.m. We still have about 10 minutes left on this tornado warning. The tornado warning coming in from the National Weather Service here in Louisville. We have not received, as of about 2 minutes ago, any reports of a tornado on the ground, any damage. That's good news, but this is moving over an area that's not incredibly populated, so it may take some time, or for this storm to move over a more populated area to get more information about it. If you have the Wave 3 News weather app, that is a great thing to have right now. Have it out. You can track this storm with us on the radar view. And if you're in Jefferson County, Indiana, it probably gave you the first alert, the earliest alert, that there was a tornado warning issued for your location. Once again, it's until 3 p.m. There's a US 421 once again. Of course, that's the Madison-Milton Bridge down near the logo bug there. You see Madison's right here. You can see that on the satellite picture. Otherwise, it's Smyrna. Smyrna is going to be the main area that we watch for over the next several minutes to have any sort of impact from this storm. We're going to be checking for some updated storm reports from the National Weather Service here in Louisville, who we've been in constant communication with here. This warning until 3 p.m. Does include up to 3/4 inch hail. They're going to continue this tornado warning until 3 o'clock. We've just got that update in from the National Weather Service that they're going to continue this until its expiration. They're not going to cancel it early. They still feel that the rotation in this thunderstorm merits the warning that we have on the radar right now. That's why you see that tornado warning banner on top of our screen. Let's check out the velocity once again to see what the rotation looks like in this storm, to see if it is ticked up or not. I do think this storm is in an overall weakening phase. The setup today doesn't argue for long range and long tracked severe storms. These are going to be short fuse situations where we get a warning or two, and then we'll continue to watch for any additional warnings that get issued for newer storms on the radar. There's the Smyrna area. There's the rotation right there. Again, it's very broad. This is not particularly impressive, but nonetheless, you need to be in your tornado safe place. Take your tornado precautions immediately. That's going to be the basement. That's going to be in the lowest level of your house, away from doors and windows. And that's warning until 3 o'clock. If you have the Wave 3 News weather app, this is the time to make sure you have that out so that you can track this storm with us and get you through Jefferson County, Indiana. Once again, this is not Jefferson County, Kentucky. I want to give you a short radar tour here while this storm continues its progress. Folks in Jennings County, Indiana, dealing with some stronger storms, torrential downpours, and possibly some hail up toward the Lovett area, just southeast of North Vernon, Indiana at this time. We don't have a severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for the area just yet. That very well may happen as we go throughout the next several minutes, maybe up to an hour or so. Here are the current warnings that we have at this time. You'll see the tornado warning for Jefferson and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. Kevin Harned is in the studio with us. What do you got, Kevin?
Yeah, well, you know, we were keeping everybody updated online and on the air. I wanted to show a three-dimensional view of this storm. You can see the hook on that showing up on the reflectivity, but looking looking inside the velocity, as you pointed out there, Ryan, we do have that tight rotation, or at least tightest rotation of that storm approaching the Smyrna area. Let's go ahead and take the graphics full so we can show what is going on with this tornado warning over southern Indiana. And again, it's Jefferson County, Indiana. A lot of folks looking at this saying, well, does this include the Louisville area? And the answer to that is no. This is for Jefferson County, Indiana until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Again, the height on this storm, upwards of about 60,000 feet, a very tall storm. And as we kind of scan around this storm, you'll see what we're looking at on the inside, some very heavy rain. I'm just kind of scanning. You're looking for that kind of vaulted. There you go. So that's the rotation. I can kind of telestrate that on or point to it there. That's where we'd be seeing the rotation, right in that zone right there. And that's where we're seeing sort of that hook show up on the radar. So back to the traditional view that we look at, you'll see as we kind of rotate the storm back around out of the three-dimensional mode. And we'll go back to our home view. This is going to show you where the storm is, plenty of lightning with that. Now we'll stop the radar and zoom back in just to point out that that is the only tornado warning we have, and that's the only, well, outside of extreme northern Jennings County, that's the only severe thunderstorm and tornado warning we have. So by far that is the warning that has our attention. I'm going to take the lightning off. Again, let me show the velocity on this and just point out where we're watching. And you can see that couplet showing up very much in this area here. We'll zoom in just a little closer as we kind of dive into that storm. You see it's passing just north of the Smyrna area now. That's going to take it over toward, it's going to stay just north of the Madison area as it approaches 421. Again, just in a little tighter. We can get to the street level view on our maps. This is a super helpful tool. It takes it toward Indiana 7. If you're around Indiana 250 and 7, that's going to be the area that we're watching, okay? So those areas right there on the radar, as we've kind of honed in on the specific street level mapping, 250 and 7. Indiana highways 250 and Indiana 7 goes between DuPont and Madison there. You're familiar with that area. That's the zone we're watching. You can see the brighter reflectivity showing up. Let's just take a quick sample of what that wind speed looks like within the storm. The tornado warning goes until 3 o'clock, of course. I'm going to turn the warnings off for just a second as we look at some of those wind speeds inside the storm. Not all that impressive from the radar at this point, but I suspect that we will have 50 to 60 mile per hour winds with that storm. The tornado warning that's popped at the top of the screen is just a continuation of the warning that's in place. So you can see they've extended it just a bit and trimmed off the backside. Let's go over to Ryan.
Yeah, it looks like, Kevin, that
still spinning up. The rotation is getting tighter.
It is, yes. The storm is strengthening. We saw a weakening trend about 5 minutes ago, cycling back up again. That's why we have that new warning, and this is going to be until 3:30 for the very eastern part of Jefferson County, Indiana. So this is going to be east of the northern part of Madison. So if you're in like a northern suburb, a ring community of Madison here, that's where you're going to pick up on that tornado risk as we go throughout the next several minutes. Kevin was showing you some of those brand new 3D tools that we have to analyze the storm. We also got some new information in from social media. Michael Montgomery sending in a photo from the Madison area looking north. A very dark, low-hanging cloud in that area at this time, indicating to us that, of course, the storm is capable of putting down a tornado because it is low enough in the sky to do so. Let's take you on a tour here of the velocities here because we do have a new radar scan that just came in. The storm once again is still west of 421. There's that couplet we were talking about, basically where the winds are spinning and where we could have the potential for a tornado. Been in communication with the National Weather Service here in Louisville. They have not yet received any reports of a confirmed tornado out of this storm. This is still very much radar indicated. This hook shape right here is giving us the most concern, and it looks like we're going to be on the air here till at least 3:30 when this warning will expire, and we'll keep an eye on that to see if there's any more storms in the area that may very well have any issues. Kevin, you got something new for us?
Well, what we want to do is check just inside this storm. Again, as we look at this, you can see the pronounced hook. This is something that obviously has our attention, and it should have yours too. If you are in Jefferson County, Indiana, you need to be in your tornado safe spot. In addition to plenty of rain and lightning, which I'm going to turn off, we do see rotation within that storm. Ryan pointed that out. Our radar gives us quite a bit of information. We can detect debris at times with what we call the correlation coefficient. At this point, we're not seeing anything drastic on that. So I'm just scanning that storm. When we look inside the storm, we can also see where we've had the hail potential. And you can see that upwards of quarter-size hail would have been possible past the just north of Smyrna, between the Smyrna and DuPont areas. So that region is an area that we're watching for hail. But the main threat with this storm is intense wind. Allow me to turn off the warnings 1 second here and just pop on the velocity. And there you see some of that velocity we have, 50-mile-per-hour winds. And that's just up above the surface where the radar is located. So likely even stronger wind speeds possible as this storm moves through Jefferson County in southern Indiana. So that is the area that we're watching. Back to the radar view, and with the radar in motion, you can see it's moving off to the east at about 30 miles an hour. So the storm is not moving super fast, but it is moving in enough direction that we'll wind up seeing at least the opportunity for that spin up or the potential for that tornado to exist as it moves over US 421. So that's the area we're watching, right in that bounded region there. Let's go back, and I'll just point out the velocity on that. Ryan's working with the National Weather Service at this point. Throw me in play mode there, and we'll point out with our temperature at 84 and winds gusting to 24 miles per hour. You can see that velocity rolling right across 250 and US Indiana 7, so very close to that. Again, we'll just zoom back into that region as we go into the tornado warning. You can see the hook on that. That's where we have the greatest rotation, staying just north of Madison, but boy, just barely north. So tornado safe places, you should be there as we speak. We'll zoom in just a bit more and then take a look at some of the velocities that we've been pointing out. Again, the tornado warning has been extended now until 3:30. With that said, folks in Jefferson County, Indiana, should be in their tornado safe place. Let's go inside the storm once again. We pointed out Indiana 250. There's Indiana 7, greatest rotation, just crossing that, approaching US 421. That's right over the Jefferson County, Indiana area. That is where we have the greatest rotation showing up on the radar at this point. So just north of Madison, south of the DuPont area. You have to be in your tornado safe place if you're off to the now east of Smyrna. And let's go ahead and warn people down the line of this storm. So other places that should be preparing for what could be a possible tornado that the radar has indicated would be areas just east of Smyrna, off to the north and east of the Madison area. Work your way up 421. You know exactly where we're talking about. So just keep that in mind. Now, while this is the only tornado warning that we have around, there are additional severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing where wind, in fact, strong wind gusts will be possible. And those continue across a chunk of our viewing area, and I anticipate a few more of those to be issued throughout the afternoon hours. A very warm, humid atmosphere. Storms are now firing northern Harrison County over into Floyd County. See the thunderstorm warnings for Jennings County, Indiana. Scattered storms continue back across not only Indiana but western parts of our viewing area in Kentucky. That's Grayson. That's down into the Breckinridge County area. So with the heating of the day, some of these thunderstorms have the potential to produce some very strong wind. Now, back to the storm at hand, and that is the tornado warning for Jefferson County, Indiana. That's where we find the strongest rotation by far on that storm, and we continue to see that this storm shows great potential, at least based on radar views, for the potential for a tornado. As far as actual sightings of funnel clouds or tornadoes or damage, I haven't heard that yet. Let's go over to Ryan Hoke and see if the Weather Service is answering any of those questions.
Yeah, we haven't had any sightings of a tornado yet. In fact, Brent Spry is out at the Madison County Airport, or I should say Madison, Indiana Airport at this time, taking pictures and sending them to us on Twitter. Those pictures do not reveal a tornado, but a very low-hanging possible mesocyclone, a wall cloud. We've also got a report just in from the DuPont, Indiana area of hail. We've also had a hail report just south of the Jennings County border in up there in Jefferson County, Indiana. So, Kevin, we're continuing to get hail reports, and we're getting some scary-looking pictures, but we're not necessarily getting the smoking gun for a tornado just yet here.
Yeah, and the smoking gun, as far as the warning is concerned, is coming from the radar imagery, which we can see here. And this is why the warning was issued, based not only on reflectivity, but also because of the velocity that we see inside that storm. Let me square it up, and we'll go back inside. The storm of concern is Jefferson County, Indiana. The tornado warning goes until 3:30 this afternoon. Inside that storm, we are noting some rotation. You can see the inflow, the hook on that storm kind of washing out there just a bit on the latest scan. So that's really some good news. But let's look inside that storm and see if we can't better gauge where the strongest rotation is. Should be approaching 421, and it is. So there you see it moving just north of Madison at this point. Here's Milton, and that's just across the river. So you're going to note that as this storm moves to the east, it should stay in Indiana. So I don't suspect that it's going to cross back over the river at all. It's going to just move east, continuing its eastward motion. Will eventually wind up in Ohio, but it is showing some signs of weakening. But as you can see, that rotation still showing up. It's a much broader area of rotation. It's not strong gate-to-gate wind shear, but we do have some kind of a bounded area of wind that is showing some rotation as it moves across 421 just outside of the Madison, Indiana area. So that's not far from the airport that Ryan just mentioned. Let me take off the velocity. Let me turn on the hail, because we have had some hail reports out of this storm. And with hail falling, that would typically always be on the northern edge. So you'd have the large shield of rain and hail, and then on the bottom you would find the greatest rotation. The hail indicator on the radar is not all that great. When we look at that, that's roughly nickel size, maybe quarter size hail. So that matches up with some of the reports. Very warm atmosphere, so that will be melting as that hail falls through the conditions that we have in place, which in Louisville it's 84. Same story just up the road in Indiana. Again, the hook on that storm has weakened just a bit. We're still seeing some rotation in that storm. The warning is until 3:30. You can see the latest outline as they trim off the far western side of that, still including just north of the Madison area. So Madison pushing on over throughout Jefferson County. Okay, so you're still under that tornado warning. Your tornado safe place is the lowest level. It's away from windows. It is making sure that you have walls between you and the outside area. Again, just kind of squaring up on the warning. 3:30 includes Madison and the Milton, Indiana areas. So that's Indiana, not Kentucky. I know sometimes we get into the counties that are the same names and the towns that are the same names. It can be confusing. This is all in Indiana at this point. So that's the latest tornado warning that we have, and we'll continue to track that with not only heavy rain and lightning, but the potential for some of those strong rotation couplets that we've seen form throughout this. Again, one more scan here, and we'll go over to Ryan to see if he has any new information, but just checking that velocity. The reflectivity showing some weakening, which is good news. The velocity still showing that couplet moving right across 421. Ryan, any other reports of wind damage or hail out of the Jefferson County, Indiana area?
Yeah, not at this time, Kevin. We're sparse on reports right now. I've made a few phone calls, and so far we've gotten no reports that I've heard of yet out of Jefferson County, Indiana, past some of the hail reports that we've seen, some of the photos that we've seen of very low, dark clouds on this storm, indicating a lowering. As you were talking about, the rotation on this is sort of weakened somewhat. The hook is kind of losing its shape, so we got to continue watching this storm for the next few minutes here. The warning officially expires at 3:30 this afternoon, so about another 25 minutes there, Kevin.
Okay, again, we're going to stay with it as long as the tornado warning is in progress here, with the radar indicating that tornado and our expertise noting as well that we have some rotation there. It could touch down at any time. It doesn't necessarily mean a tornado is on the ground, but it means the radar is indicating one, and we know with experience that can happen in a moment's notice. That's why we're on the air with nonstop severe weather coverage for our family and friends in Jefferson County, Indiana, as this storm moves just north of the Madison area. US 421 lifting off to the north. That takes you just outside of the Madison area as you work your way through Jefferson County, and you can see that that storm continues to move off to the east. It's moving fairly slow, running at about 25 to 30 miles an hour eastbound. That's the forward speed of the storm, so it's just just going to take some time to get this storm out of the county, which is why that warning has been now extended until 3:30 in the afternoon. Once again, it's a strong thunderstorm. It is not the only thunderstorm that we have around the area. I'll point out, because some folks are seeing the darkening skies, hearing the thunder, we do have additional thunderstorms popping up. Always begs the question, when we have one tornado warning, will we see other tornado warnings? There is a chance, but the chance is very low. Most of these storms will remain below severe limits, but we do have an ongoing chance of some stronger storms with strong wind developing with these storms that are now firing up, especially across southern Indiana and the western part of our viewing area in Kentucky. So that's the area we're watching. The only warnings we have are in Indiana. They're all confined there, both severe thunderstorm and tornado. And back to the tornado warning as we zoom in for Jefferson County, Indiana. We're clear here in Metro Louisville. Thunderstorms just across the river, northern Floyd County. The one that has our attention the most happens to be the one pushing through Jefferson County, Indiana. It's this storm that is tornado warned, radar indicated, and you can see why. Now, let me point out, it's a little clear to see why when we look inside that storm at the velocity. And we'll just point out that as we move the velocity around, I'm going to show you. It's that couplet right there where we start to see, you get some of those pink showing up, that strong wind, especially up against green. Pink and green together, not a good thing. That's showing us some rotation. It's getting a little tighter in that zone right there. 421, Indiana 250. That takes us just now to the north and east of the Madison, Indiana area. This is moving off to the east. We'll be rolling right south of Indiana 250 as we progress through the next half hour or so. We've got another 15 minutes left on this warning. That goes until 3:30 this afternoon. We're now at 3:10, so another 20 minutes left. Wind gust in Louisville at 24 miles an hour. These storms are moving to the east, the one that we're watching in Indiana, as that continues to make its eastward movement. So we're tracking the storms both on TV and online for you. If you have the Wave 3 News weather app, that's been going off. If you have wave3.com pulled up on your computer, you can see all of the information at your fingertips. But this storm by far is the meanest looking storm around, and it is showing still signs of rotation. For that reason, the tornado warning continues. Ryan Hoke is here, Tawana Andrews. We've got our team assembled to make sure we keep you safe. So Ryan, new information?
That's right. New information coming in from the Bradford, Indiana area. Pete, a marble size hail up that way, marble being about penny size on that storm. We also just got in a new photo showing not a tornado just yet. This is again in the Madison, Indiana area where this photo is being taken from, looking north, but again, very dark, low-hanging clouds. We continue to get those reports on social media. Send those to us, Wave 3 Weather, on Facebook and Twitter. The gate-to-gate shear, by the way, Kevin, on this looks like it's about 50 miles an hour. The last scan has upticked once again. This rotation, this storm continues to cycle, continues to pose a threat for Jefferson County, Indiana.
There's really nothing to cut it off to the south. Oftentimes it's the most southern storm that feeds on the energy of the atmosphere, with southerly winds pushing the moisture and the stronger dew points into the storm. That's what you need for a storm cycle to survive, and that's why this storm continues to survive, and that's why we continue to see some rotation. There's really nothing to cut it off from the atmosphere at this point of what it's working with. Let me point it out on a wider view. Typically, you see thunderstorms that may develop to the south on outflows from these storms to cut off that moisture feed on the southern wind, and that's just not happening at this point. So this storm continues to just cycle around as this mesocyclone rotates, and that will be the case as it continues to move across Jefferson County and Indiana. So we're at 312 right now. The warning goes until 3:30 this afternoon for Jefferson County. The bulk of that storm has now passed the Madison, Indiana area, and some good news there. We will continue to see that storm move on off to the east. When I say good news, I'm just meaning for the folks in Madison that the strongest part is moving out of your area. Let me zoom back into that, and then I'll adjust the velocity accordingly. You can see the latest scan coming in, moving just north of Milton as well. So folks in Madison, you are in the clear at this point. Milton, likewise, that storm's going to go to your north. If you're along US or Indiana 250 and east of US 421, just keep in mind that storm is over your area now. Still showing some rotation within that storm. Let's go back inside. Take a look. The velocity comes up. We'll note that we have some small hail. P to nickel-size hail has been reported with that storm. And inside, we can see the velocity. And let's just go back in. Boom. And then we'll take a look inside. for the velocity. There we go. And you can still see as we scan around, there's still some strong wind, but the rotation is now broader. We've kind of flattened out that green color that we saw. By the way, the greens, the reds, the pinks, those are all winds, and the greens are winds blowing toward the radar, the reds, winds blowing away, and that's why we can see the rotation within the storm. The brighter those colors are, the stronger the wind speed. Okay, so the green has kind of faded a bit, so the rotation is now broader, but the winds are still very strong, and that pink color indicates that, moving right along Indiana 250 at this point. Scanning the rest of this, you can see how it flattens out. So the strongest winds by far are going to be located now between Milton and Madison to the north, right along Indiana 250. So that's the zone that we've been mainly concerned with across the area. When we look at how much lightning we've had, there has been a tremendous amount of lightning with all of these storms as well. As they continue to push forward, you can see that showing up. Let's go back to our radar view, and we'll point out that as we put this into motion, you can see it's fairly slow moving through really at a 25, 30 mile per hour pace. I'm going to stop the radar view there. Tornado warning. Let's check it. We'll go back to that. This is just going to square up and give us an update on this tornado warning. You can see that we're still now trimmed past the Madison area. This is still in effect for Jefferson County. They've just trimmed the western edge of that tornado warning, but it still goes to the far eastern edge of Jefferson County. So now it's the eastern half of Jefferson County, Indiana, that remains under the tornado warning. Again, still showing some signs of rotation on that storm as it moves off to the east. Let's go back inside. I'm just going to point out one more time where we have that strongest rotation, because that's probably at this point the most beneficial information we can give. If we have the small hail, that's not going to cause a lot of problems, but the wind could, because we could have those 50, 60, 65 mile per hour winds realized. And if it happens, it's going to be in a very isolated area. You can see it right along 62 and just south, but should be moving along Indiana 250. Let's head over to Ryan Hoke. Ryan?
Yeah, we continue to watch a storm up just west of the Seymour, Indiana area at this time. We're monitoring for other threats as well. This may not have a warning on it, but another strong storm, northern Jackson County. You can see that burst of wind up there just west of Seymour at this time. We'll return you to a more favorable radar view so you get the idea of where the storm is. It's near the Seymour area, just along US 50. We've been monitoring for your reports on social media from the Jefferson County, Indiana storm, and we're getting several pictures of these low-hanging clouds, but I've not been able to see anything that looks like a funnel cloud just yet. That's good news. Let's hope that trend continues. Looks like this storm is now in the very eastern part of Jefferson County, Indiana. Kev.
Still moving fairly slow, while always liking to give you that earliest alert, which is why Ryan mentioned what's happening in Jackson County up into Jennings County, Indiana. The storm with the warning, and it's a tornado warning, continues until 3:30 now for the eastern half of Jefferson County, Indiana. A lot of rain and lightning with that. Let me point out once again, because looking inside the storm often gives us the best information, and with that we can see where that strongest rotation is. Should be now passing by Indiana 62 and Indiana 250. So that's at that junction where we have the strongest winds at this point. Just kind of scanning about. That is the velocity. Let's look inside and take a look at the hail potential. That also gives some valuable information. At this point, the hail has been small, which is good news, but this is showing a little larger than it was earlier. So the core of that storm strengthening just a bit. That means we have stronger updraft winds, because that keeps the hail suspended in the atmosphere longer. And we do have potential for even quarter-size hail out of this storm. So the hail strength has grown over the last two scans, and now that would be approaching the far eastern edge of Jefferson County, Indiana, just north of the Milton area. So if we have hail, it would be falling just north of Milton, Indiana. That's just east of Madison. Again, we're watching this storm. It probably has another 5 minutes 8 minutes before it's out of the county. The warning technically going until 3:30. We'll get you back to programming as quickly as we can. But again, this storm has not let up as far as intensity and as far as the radar imagery showing and indicating that rotation where there could be that potential for a tornado. You can still see the hook on that storm, the inflow coming in with some very strong winds possible, some small hail not out of the question. Ryan, what's new?
Yeah, we just got a note from the newsroom. Lydia Middleton Elementary School School in Madison is holding students until this tornado warning passes, which Madison is now out of that tornado warning, so I'd expect them to release them shortly. They dismissed at 2:45, but any additional kids that they still have are being held in the basement. So that's an update from southern part of Jefferson County, Indiana. Still monitoring for your reports on social media. And if you don't have the Wave 3 News weather app, this is a great time to have it too, Kevin.
Yeah, no question about that. Keeping up with these storms, especially over the next couple of days where they just sort of develop with the heating of the afternoon. There's no huge trigger around the area, meaning no big cold front sweeping in. But we will see these thunderstorms develop over the next couple of days just at random. And keeping that app in your hand, not only to give you the radar view, but also the warning that something is happening or something is coming your way is very valuable. Again, you can see the folks in Jefferson County, Indiana, under the gun with this storm. Let me zoom out on the radar view. We'll just take a quick tour. We're at 318. That storm is moving out of Jefferson County within the next 5 to 10 minutes, but you can see additional storms continue to fire up. Oftentimes, what we're looking at now for the development of future strong to severe thunderstorm warnings would be clusters of lightning, where we start to see that lightning rapidly intensify. Good indications of where we could see the strongest storm become severe next. Okay, so parts of southern Indiana would be in that realm. Wouldn't rule it out across Washington, Floyd, perhaps as this moves into Clark or Scott counties. Again, the latest on the tornado warning. Let's go back to it. We'll zoom right into it so you can see it. And it's just, again, trimming the backside of that warning off as we keep updating this storm moving out of Jefferson County, Indiana, pushing on to the east. That warning technically goes until 3:30 this afternoon. Back to the wider view, storms do continue to develop as well off to our south and to our west across the western part of our viewing area. That would include places like Breckinridge County, Grayson County, back across the river into Crawford County. We're watching those storms closely as they move on to the east and northeast. Let me put the motion on here as we play the storm motion. You can see they're all generally lifting to the north and east, and then the storms in Indiana pretty much moving due east. There is a boundary off to our north, which is kind of why the direction's changing. It's why we're seeing this line sort of develop. We have a front just to the north of us, and that will continue to be a focal point for some of the heavier rains and storms passing through. Back to the radar. I'm going to stop it. We're going to zoom in. As we zoom back into Jefferson County, Indiana, I'll point out where we have that strongest rotation at this point. Folks there, let's give the all clear for the Madison area, for Smyrna, for places like DuPont. You're in the clear from this storm. You have another one that's moving in, but it's not severe. The tornado warning continues again for the far eastern part of Jefferson County, Indiana. Velocity shows that we still have some of that rotation. I can see it on the reflectivity, but the velocity oftentimes gives us a little bit better of an indication of where we have that stronger wind. And it would be just north of the Milton area right now. So that's the zone that we're seeing here. And if I swap this over to the radar out of Ohio, we could probably even get a better zone on that. But that's the area we're watching, just north of the Milton area at this point as that storm continues its movement off to the east. 3:20 is the time. The warning goes until 3:30. Showers and thunderstorms developing in the heat of the day across the area. Few severe thunderstorms with damaging winds. What to look forward to as we're moving through the rest of the afternoon will be continued storm development. Few warnings are possible, mainly for severe thunderstorms, gusty winds, and some hail. It's not out of the question that we'll see a storm like this, which happened today, where we get that rotation spinning through the area, and that's just something we'll have to keep an eye on. But for the most part, we're not looking for a tornado outbreak or anything like that through this afternoon. Ryan?
Yeah, I just got off the phone again with Jefferson County, Indiana Dispatch. They are not seeing any substantial damage reports at this time. The only report they have is one tree down on Indiana 62 where it comes together with 250. That's in the northeastern part of Jefferson County, Indiana. And we also continue to get a few photos of what people are calling a funnel cloud, but it looks like it's just part of that rolling Arcus cloud that's moving through. So no confirmed funnel reports yet from this storm, Kevin, and hopefully we can get it out of Jefferson County, Indiana without having any at all.
Yeah, and that would be the hopeful part there. Always is. You know, the warnings come out. We start to see it on the radar. The next best thing, a set of eyes to help us walk you through that storm. And the good news is we haven't received word or sightings of any type of damage outside of the one tree that dispatchers reported down. So good news there, because the radar sure looked ominous throughout the course of this storm. Over the last 45 minutes, in fact, that storm has shown some decent rotation. It's kind of gone up and down a bit through time, but really it has. You can see the National Weather Service has continued the warning, but as a severe thunderstorm warning opposed to a tornado warning. So as soon as this hook gets out of Jefferson County, Indiana, we will go back to our programming. The warning is set to expire in just 8 minutes. I think we'll be able to do that just beforehand. Ryan?
Kevin, we've deployed Air 3 over Madison, Indiana. Let's go straight to that shot now. You can see this storm now moving through those scud clouds. You see those white fingers moving down there? That's what we're watching right now. It doesn't look like I can see any sort of funnel in there yet, but yeah, very low-hanging clouds, very ominous look to it, Kevin.
I was just looking at the same picture everybody at home is seeing. You can see the Ohio River there. So we are now just lifting off of Bowman Field and pushing northbound toward the Madison area. So we'll be traveling in this direction. So that is what you're looking at, as the back edge of that storm as it continues to push on to the east. Again, that's the view from Air 3 looking at the storm over Jefferson County, Indiana. No rotation showing up. We oftentimes like to see even some of those clouds on the smoother side would indicate more rotation. We will keep an eye on Air 3 and keep you updated with what's happening there. But again, the only damage out of Jefferson County has been the one tree down. So it seems that at this point that we have had no tornado touchdown, despite the fact that the radar indicated the tornado, which is why the warning was issued in the first place. Let's go back to our home view, because I want to make sure everybody understands throughout the afternoon, gusty winds and hail will be possible in any of these thunderstorms that develop and become severe. Are they all going to become severe? No. I know there are lots of graduations. I know there are lots of parties going on for graduates. The thing is, we'll just keep an eye on the radar. Once the sun sets, things will die down just a bit, only be renewed tomorrow with the heating of the day once again to see more scattered thunderstorms. Not everybody gets wet tonight. There are individual downpours that will be moving and passing through, but if you're under one, it's not only going to be loud and wet, but it could be very windy, as is the case right now in Madison or in Jefferson County, Indiana, just north and now east of the Madison area. I'm going to zoom back in. We're at 324. This storm is rolling out of Jefferson County, Indiana. That warning will transition to a severe thunderstorm warning for counties down the line. I'm going to rotate the radar and just kind of move around, show you what's happening through the zone that we're looking at to our north. As we lift back up into Jennings County, you'll see showers and thunderstorms pushing north of North Vernon. That's right along US 50. Those should hold along and north of US 50 as those move through. Back to the Seymour area, one thing that we're noticing and watching there, some of the deeper purple showing up, could have some small hail with that storm. There's no warning at this point, but it's something that we're watching as that moves toward the Seymour area. There's Brownstown. Likewise, showers and thunderstorms approaching your area. Off to the south, we have additional storms in southern Washington County. These are all non-severe at this point, but they are starting to produce lightning and some gusty winds. That's right along US 150. Takes you right through the southwestern part of Washington County, back into Floyd County, where we see additional thunderstorms moving near the Henryville area, pushing up through the Borden area. This is in Clark County. That's just north of the downtown area. So those are areas that we're watching. They are not severe. The only thunderstorm the only thunderstorm warning or tornado warning that we have is about to expire, and that's now moving out of Jefferson County, Indiana. Ryan?
Yeah, speaking of that tornado warning, the National Weather Service is allowing that now to expire about 3 or 4 minutes early. And a bit of new information here, a severe thunderstorm watch for Carroll County, Kentucky until 11 p.m. The Storm Prediction Center is not elected to issue a watch for the rest of our counties just yet, Kevin.
All right, back to the radar view we go. Just to point out why that warning has been allowed to expire. The storm is out of that warned zone. We are keeping our eyes on the skies throughout the rest of the afternoon. If you don't have the Wave 3 News weather app, do yourself a favor and download it. It's free in the App Store. I'm going to toss it back to our programming. We'll be here at 5 o'clock, if not before, to give you the latest on the weather information through the evening hours as well as the weekend ahead. If you're making plans, you'll want to see the storm forecast as we move forward over the next several days. For Ryan Hoke, Tawana Andrew, I'm Kevin Harned. We'll get you back to programming, and we'll be back as needed.